I need you. Now.
Logan didn't believe in haunted houses. He'd seen enough real horror in Fallujah to know that the dead stayed dead. What kept men awake wasn't ghosts, it was memory. And memory was exactly what he'd come to Missouri to escape. "Come on, boy." He tugged Gage's leash, but the dog planted all four paws on the porch. 100 pounds of pure stubbornness. Gage had been with him for 6 years, saved his life twice overseas, once stateside, when a driver ran a red light and the dog yanked him backward by his jacket.
I'm so grateful.
The animal's instincts were cleaner than any judgment Logan had left. What is it? Gage's ears pinned flat. A low whine built in his throat, not the sound of a dog sensing a squirrel or another animal. This was different. Primal. Logan followed the dog's gaze into the entry hall. Afternoon light fell through broken windows, illuminating dust that hung in the air like fog. The floorboards were warped, buckled in places.
I need you.
Water damage, probably.
Now.
The whole place smelled like rot and old paper. Nothing moved. "It's empty," Logan said. "Just us." But when he stepped inside, the temperature dropped 15 degrees. He'd bought the mansion on impulse or desperation, depending on how honest he wanted to be with himself. The county auction listing had caught his eye during a 3 a.m. scroll through foreclosure sites. Stone construction, 12 rooms, 2 acres. Starting bid 50 cents. No other bidders. The realtor had laughed when Logan called. "You know why it's 50 cents, right?" "Tell me." "Mayor Bradley's place. Disappeared 7 years ago. Town thinks he's dead. Or hiding. Either way, nobody wants to touch it." "Why not?" "Bad luck. 3 families tried living there after Bradley vanished. None lasted more than a month. Said it felt wrong. Plus, the land's tied up in legal disputes. Old deeds missing paperwork. You'd be buying a headache." Logan had bought it anyway. A headache sounded better than the apartment in Kansas City, where the walls were thin enough to hear his neighbors' TV shows and the ceiling leaked every time it rained. He needed space. Quiet. A project to keep his hands busy and his mind from drifting back to the things he'd done, the orders he'd followed, the faces he couldn't forget. Now standing in the entry hall with his dog refusing to follow him inside, Logan wondered if the realtor's warning had been more than just small-town superstition. "All right." He dropped his duffel bag on the floor. "We'll take it slow." Gage barked once, sharp, urgent. "I hear you." Logan crouched down, scratching behind the dog's ears. "But we don't have anywhere else to go. This is it." The dog's eyes were dark, unblinking. Logan stood and walked deeper into the house. His boots echoed against the floorboards. The entry hall opened into a main room with a stone fireplace tall enough to stand in. Furniture sat covered in white sheets, shapes like sleeping ghosts. A staircase curved up to the second floor, its banister thick with cobwebs. Behind him, Gage finally crossed the threshold. But he didn't relax. He stalked forward, head low, sniffing every corner. Logan moved room to room. The kitchen still had dishes in the sink, plates crusted with food that had turned to black mold. Coffee cups. A newspaper dated April 14, 2018. The headline read, "Mayor Bradley announces infrastructure investment." 7 years ago, the day before Bradley disappeared. Logan opened the refrigerator and immediately regretted it. The smell hit him like a fist. He slammed the door shut and stumbled backward, gagging. "Jesus!" Gage barked again, sharper this time. The dog was standing in the doorway leading to the basement, staring down into darkness. "No." Logan wiped his mouth. "We're not doing that today." But Gage didn't move. Just stood there rigid, every muscle tensed. Logan found a light switch, flipped it. Nothing. The power had been shut off years ago. He'd have to call the utility company, get everything reconnected. For now, he had a camping lantern in his truck, and enough daylight left to make the place livable. He spent the next 2 hours opening windows, pulling sheets off furniture, sweeping floors. The house fought him at every step. Windows stuck in their frames. Doors wouldn't latch. The air itself felt heavy, resistant, like pushing through water. and Gage wouldn't stop pacing. The dog moved from room to room, circling back to the basement door, then to the staircase, then to a spot in the main room where he'd stop and stare at the wall. "There's nothing there," Logan said. Gage growled, "I'm serious, it's just a wall." But the dog kept staring, and after a while, Logan found himself staring too. The wall was stone like the rest of the house. Rough-cut blocks fitted together with mortar. Nothing unusual, nothing that would catch a dog's attention. Except Logan stepped closer. There was a seam in the mortar hairline, thin, running vertically from floor to ceiling, and another one about 3 feet to the right. And when he pressed his palm against the stone, it felt different. Cooler. Hollow. Son of a bitch. He pushed. The wall didn't move. He pushed harder, throwing his shoulder into it. Still nothing. Gage barked 3 times rapid fire. I know. Logan stepped back, studying the seam. There's something here, but I don't know how to open it. He tried running his fingers along the edges, feeling for a latch or button. Nothing. He checked the floor for a trigger mechanism. Nothing. He even tried pushing different stones, thinking one might act as a release. Nothing worked. By the time the sun set, Logan was exhausted. He set up his sleeping bag in the main room, positioned close to the fireplace. No fire tonight, the chimney probably hadn't been cleaned in years, and he wasn't about to risk burning the place down. But he liked having the stone at his back. Gage curled up beside him, but the dog didn't sleep. His eyes stayed open, fixed on the darkness at the top of the stairs. "We'll figure it out tomorrow," Logan said. "Whatever's going on here, we'll handle it." But he didn't believe his own words. Something about this place felt wrong in a way he couldn't name. It wasn't fear he'd faced. Fear before knew its shape and weight. This was different. This felt like guilt. Like the house itself was hiding something. Around midnight, Logan finally drifted off. His sleep was thin, fragmented. He dreamed of sand and heat and the weight of his rifle. He dreamed of faces in doorways, hands reaching out, voices calling for help he couldn't give. He dreamed of his father who'd died 10 years ago in a car crash on a river road outside this same Missouri town. His father, whose death had never sat right with Logan, though he'd been too young and too angry to ask questions. His father, whose last words to him had been, "Some truths are worth dying for." Logan woke to Gage barking. Not the warning bark from earlier. This was frantic, desperate. The dog was on his feet, facing the basement door, every hair standing on end. What? Logan sat up, reaching for the flashlight he'd left beside his sleeping bag. The basement door was open. He knew he'd closed it. Knew he'd checked it twice before lying down because Gage had been so fixated on it. But now it stood wide open, and from the darkness below came a sound like breath. Slow. Steady. In and out. "Stay," Logan whispered to Gage, but the dog was already moving forward, drawn toward the sound. Logan grabbed his flashlight and followed. His hand went instinctively to his hip where he'd carried a sidearm for 4 years in the Marines. Nothing there now. Just empty air and the echo of training he couldn't shake. The stairs leading down were steep, narrow. The wood creaked under his weight. The breathing sound grew louder, except it wasn't breathing at all. It was air moving through pipes. Had to be. The house settling. Temperature changes. He reached the bottom and swept his flashlight across the basement. Dirt floor, stone walls, support beams every 6 feet thick as telephone poles. Shelves lined one wall, stacked with paint cans, old tools, boxes of nails. Nothing unusual. Except the air vent in the far corner was moving. Actually moving, the metal grate swinging open and shut like lungs. Logan crossed the basement. Gage pressed against his leg, still growling. The vent was loose. That was all. Loose screws, air pressure from somewhere in the system making it swing. Logan reached out to secure it and saw the scratches on the wall beside it. 4 deep gouges in the stone like someone had clawed at it. And below the scratches, words carved into the mortar, "Help me." Logan's breath caught. He touched the letters. They were old, worn smooth by time, but fresh enough that someone had made them within the last decade. "Who were you?" he whispered. Gage's growl turned into a whine. Logan pulled the vent free. Behind it, the ductwork extended back into darkness. But there was something else, a smell. Not decay, not rot. Something chemical. Sharp and acrid like ammonia or bleach. Cleaning solution. Someone had tried to clean something down here. He aimed his flashlight into the duct. The beam caught metal, then concrete, then a jacket. Dark green military style. Logan reached in and pulled it out, dust cascading off the fabric. The jacket was old, but well made, the kind officers wore during ceremonies. Heavy brass buttons, name stitched across the chest. H.C. Bradley. Mayor Harold Bradley. The man who'd disappeared 7 years ago. The man whose house Logan had just bought for 50 cents. The jacket had been shoved deep into the ventilation system and sealed behind a grate. Hidden. Deliberately hidden. Logan turned the jacket over. The back was stiff with something dark. He held it up to the light and his stomach dropped. Bloodstains. Old, faded to brown, but unmistakable. He didn't disappear, Logan said. Someone killed him, and someone hid the evidence. Gage barked once, then bolted back up the stairs. Logan followed, his heart pounding. When he reached the main floor, the dog was standing at the hidden wall, the one with the seam Logan had found earlier. But now the wall was open. A section of stone had swung inward, revealing a narrow staircase descending into darkness. The air that flowed out was cold and stale, untouched for years. "How did you—" Logan started, but Gage was already descending, disappearing into the black. "Damn it." Logan grabbed a second flashlight from his truck and followed the dog down. The staircase was tight, claustrophobic. The walls pressed close. Logan counted 43 steps before the stairs ended in a small room carved directly into bedrock. Filing cabinets lined the walls. A desk sat in the center, covered in papers. Maps hung on the walls, sections circled in red marker. Photographs were pinned to a corkboard, faces Logan didn't recognize, but every photo had a name written below it in neat block letters. This wasn't just a hidden room. It was an archive, a command center. And it was filled with evidence. Logan approached the desk. The papers were organized into folders, each labeled with a date and location. He opened the first one and found land deeds, purchase agreements, transfer documents. All signed by Harold Bradley. All processed through the county clerk's office. But something was wrong with the signatures. Logan wasn't a handwriting expert, but even he could see the inconsistencies. Different pressure, different slant. These weren't all signed by the same person. They were forgeries. He opened another folder. This one contained photographs. Aerial shots of properties around the county. Small farms mostly. Rural land that hadn't been developed. Each photo had a red X marked over it and a date written in the margin. The dates corresponded to the deeds in the first folder. Bradley hadn't just been a corrupt mayor. He'd been stealing land. Forging documents, erasing ownership, reselling properties that didn't belong to him. And he'd been doing it for years. Logan pulled out another folder and froze. Inside was a photograph of a man standing in front of this very mansion. The photo was old, taken maybe 15 or 20 years ago. The man was young, early 30s, wearing work clothes and a faded baseball cap. Logan recognized him immediately. It was his father. Miles Hart. His hands started shaking. He flipped through the rest of the folder. Letters, memos, email printouts. All correspondence between Miles Hart and Harold Bradley. His father had worked for Bradley. Not directly, Miles had been a county land surveyor contracted to verify property lines and file official reports. But according to these letters, he'd discovered the forgeries, found the pattern, and he'd confronted Bradley about it. The last letter in the folder was dated 3 weeks before his father's death. Mayor Bradley, I've given you multiple opportunities to correct these records. The families you've displaced deserve their land back. If you won't act, I'll take this evidence to the state attorney general myself. This isn't a threat, it's a promise. Miles Hart. Logan's vision blurred. He read the letter again, and then a third time, trying to make sense of it. His father hadn't died in an accident. Bradley had killed him. Or had him killed. And then Bradley had kept all the evidence here in this hidden room like trophies. Dad. The word came out broken. Jesus Christ, Dad. Gage pressed against his leg, whining softly. Logan wiped his eyes and kept searching. There had to be more. If Bradley had kept his father's letters, he'd kept everything else too. Every crime, every victim, he found it in the bottom drawer of a filing cabinet. A ledger, handwritten entries going back 30 years. Names, dates, amounts. Some entries were marked with a simple check mark. Others had a red X. Logan's father's name appeared 3 times. The last entry was marked with an X and a note. Resolved. 10/12/2015. The date of the car crash. But there were other names too. Dozens of them. People Logan didn't know but whose stories were written in terse business-like notes. J. Morrison refused buyout. Resolved. 3/4/2008. K. Chen filed complaint with county. Resolved 7/19/2011. R. Washington contacted journalist. Resolved 11/2/2013. Resolved. A clean word for murder. Logan photographed every page with his phone, his hands still shaking. This was evidence. Real evidence. The kind that could bring down everyone involved in Bradley's operation, assuming anyone was still alive to prosecute. But then he found the last folder. This one was newer. The papers inside were printed on modern letterhead. County Clerk's Office, Sheriff's Department, State Land Commission, all dated within the last 7 years. After Bradley's disappearance, the operation hadn't stopped. Someone had taken over. Someone was still running the same scheme, forging the same documents, erasing the same families. And that someone had been inside this house recently. Logan looked at the dust patterns on the desk. Clean rectangles where papers had been moved. Fresh fingerprints on the filing cabinet handles. A coffee cup sitting on the desk empty, but with residue still wet enough to smell. Someone had been here. Today, while Logan was upstairs. Or maybe they were still here. Gage's ears pricked forward. The dog turned toward the staircase, a growl building deep in his chest. Footsteps. Above them. Slow and deliberate. Logan killed his flashlight. Darkness swallowed the room. He felt his way to the stairs, Gage pressed tight against his leg. The footsteps crossed the main floor, stopping at the hidden entrance. Logan held his breath. A light appeared at the top of the stairs. Flashlight beam cutting through the dark, sweeping left to right. "I know you're down there." The voice was male rough. "And I know what you found." Logan didn't answer. His mind was racing, calculating angles, exit routes. But there was only one way out up those stairs past whoever was blocking them. "Logan Hart," the voice continued. "Miles Hart's boy. I remember you. Came to your daddy's funeral. Nice service. Sad story." Logan's jaw tightened. "You shouldn't have come here," the man said. "This house was supposed to stay empty, supposed to stay forgotten." "Who are you?" A pause. Then, "Someone who finishes things." The light started descending, slow steps one at a time. Logan looked around the room desperate. No other exits, no windows, nothing but stone walls and filing cabinets, and... His hand closed around a metal pipe leaning against the wall. Some kind of support rod, maybe 3 feet long, heavy enough to do damage. Gage's growl turned into a snarl. "Easy," Logan whispered. The footsteps reached the bottom. The flashlight beam swept across the room, catching Logan square in the face. "There you are." Logan swung the pipe. The man dodged, but not fast enough. The pipe caught his shoulder, spinning him sideways. His flashlight clattered to the ground. Gage lunged. The dog hit the man's center mass, driving him backward into the wall. There was a shout, then a gunshot deafening in the confined space. Logan dove for the stairs. His ears were ringing, vision swimming. He couldn't tell if Gage had been hit, couldn't tell if he'd been hit, couldn't tell anything except that he had to move, had to get out. Another gunshot. Stone exploded beside his head, shards cutting his cheek. He made it to the main floor and slammed the hidden door shut. There was no lock, no way to secure it. He grabbed the nearest piece of furniture, a heavy wooden chair, and wedged it under the handle. It wouldn't hold long. Gage appeared at his side, limping, but alive. Blood matted the dog's left shoulder. "Come on!" Logan scooped up his phone and keys and ran for the front door. Behind him, he heard the hidden door slam open. The chair splintered. Footsteps pounded across the floor. Logan hit the porch running. His truck was parked 30 yards away down a gravel path. He could make it. He could. A third gunshot blew out his front window. Logan dove behind the truck, pulling Gage down with him. Glass rained down. He fumbled for his keys, hands slick with sweat. "You can't run," the man shouted from the porch. "You've seen too much." Logan got the truck started. He threw it into reverse and floored it, gravel spraying. Another shot punched through the tailgate. He didn't stop, didn't look back, just drove, tires screaming, until the stone mansion disappeared behind the trees. It wasn't until he was 5 miles down the road that he realized he was still holding his phone. The phone with all the photographs, all the evidence, everything his father had died trying to expose. Logan pulled over, hands shaking so badly he could barely hold the steering wheel. Gage whined softly in the passenger seat, blood still seeping from his shoulder. "We're okay," Logan said. "We're okay." But they weren't. Not even close. Because whoever had been in that house, whoever had shot at them, knew Logan's name, knew his father, knew exactly what Logan had found. And they'd do anything to keep it buried. Logan pulled out his phone and started scrolling through the contacts. He needed help, real help, someone who couldn't be bought or threatened. His thumb hovered over a name, Elise Monroe. He'd never met her, but he'd read her work investigative pieces in the Kansas City Star about corruption in rural Missouri counties. She'd broken stories about embezzlement, fraud, intimidation. And 3 years ago, she'd written a series about Mayor Harold Bradley's disappearance. The articles had raised questions, but provided no answers. The investigation had stalled. Bradley remained missing. The case went cold. But Logan had answers now. He had evidence. He hit dial. The phone rang 4 times before a voice answered, rough with sleep. "This better be good." "Elise Monroe." "Who's asking?" "My name is Logan Hart. My father was Miles Hart. He was a surveyor who died in 2015, and I just found proof that Harold Bradley murdered him." Silence on the other end. Then, "Where are you? Driving. Someone just tried to kill me. Are you safe?" "For now." Another pause. Logan could hear her moving, probably getting out of bed. "Send me your location," she said. "I'll meet you in 1 hour." "How do I know I can trust you?" "You don't. But you called me anyway, which means you're out of options. So send me your goddamn location and stay alive until I get there." She hung up. Logan stared at his phone, then at Gage. The dog's eyes were steady, trusting. "All right," Logan said. "Let's see this through." He sent his location and started driving again. The night pressed close around the truck. Behind him, somewhere in the darkness, the stone mansion stood silent. Waiting. Always waiting. Because the house wasn't finished with Logan yet. And the truth buried inside it had been waiting 7 years for someone to dig it up, no matter how many bodies it took to keep it hidden. Logan met Elise Monroe in a 24-hour diner off Highway 50, the kind of place where the coffee tasted like burnt rubber and nobody asked questions. She walked in at 2:15 a.m., scanning the room with the practiced eye of someone who'd learned not to trust first impressions. "Logan Hart." He nodded. Gage lifted his head from under the table, ears forward. Elise slid into the booth across from him. She was younger than he'd expected, mid-30s maybe, with dark hair pulled back and tired eyes that said she hadn't slept properly in years. She looked at the dog's bandaged shoulder, then at the cuts on Logan's face. You weren't kidding about the attempted murder part. No, ma'am. Don't call me ma'am. Makes me feel old. She flagged down the waitress, ordered black coffee, then turned back to Logan. Show me what you found. Logan pulled out his phone. His hands were steadier now, but barely. He scrolled to the first photograph, the ledger with his father's name. Elise leaned in. Her expression didn't change, but something shifted in her eyes. Recognition, or maybe confirmation. You've seen this before, Logan said. Not this exactly, but I've seen the pattern. She swiped through more photos, stopping on the one showing Bradley's jacket. Where did you find this? Hidden in the ventilation system. Basement of the mansion. And the blood? Old. Years old. Elise kept scrolling. When she reached the photographs of the recent documents, the ones dated after Bradley's disappearance, she finally looked up. Someone's still running the operation. That's what I thought. And they know you found this. Shot at me 3 times to prove it. The waitress brought coffee. Neither of them touched it. Elise set the phone down between them. I need you to understand something. 3 years ago, I wrote a series about Bradley. Interviewed 50 people. Compiled evidence. Got close. Real close to proving he'd orchestrated a land fraud scheme that displaced over 30 families. What happened? My editor killed the story. Said we didn't have enough to go to press without getting sued into oblivion. 2 weeks later, my car was run off the road. No witnesses, no suspects. I spent 6 weeks in the hospital. Logan's jaw tightened. They tried to kill you. They tried to scare me. It worked. She picked up her coffee, stared at it, set it back down. I've been sitting on this story for 3 years, waiting for the right moment, for the right evidence. And now you have it. Now we have it. But we need more than photographs. We need corroboration, witnesses, a direct link between the current operation and someone we can name. The man who shot at me, he knew my name, knew my father. Did you see his face? Logan shook his head. Too dark. But his voice may be 40s, 50s. Local accent. The kind of guy who's lived here his whole life. Elise pulled out a notebook, started writing. Anyone in town know you bought the mansion? Just the realtor, county clerk, maybe the bank. That's 3 people. Which means by tomorrow morning everyone will know. She looked up. You can't go back there. I wasn't planning on it. Good. Because whoever's running this operation, they're not going to stop until you're dead or silent. And from what you've shown me, they have the resources to make either one happen. Gage whined softly. Logan reached down, scratching behind the dog's ears. So what do we do? Elise tapped her pen against the notebook. We find someone who'll talk. Someone on the inside who's willing to flip. Bradley didn't run this operation alone, he had help. County employees, law enforcement, maybe even state officials. Someone knows something. Someone always does. And if they won't talk, then we make them. She smiled, but there was no warmth in it. I've gotten very good at making people uncomfortable. Logan believed her. They spent the next hour going through every photograph, every document. Elise took notes, asked questions, cross-referenced names Logan didn't recognize. She'd been working this case in her head for 3 years, and now all the pieces were finally coming together. Your father, she said, pausing on the letter Miles Hart had written to Bradley. He was a good man. He was stubborn. Same thing sometimes. She read the letter again. He gave Bradley multiple chances to come clean. That takes integrity. Got him killed. No, Bradley got him killed. Don't confuse the two. Logan looked away. Through the diner window, the highway stretched empty in both directions. Somewhere out there, the stone mansion sat in darkness, filled with secrets that had already cost too many lives. There's something else, Elise said. Something I haven't told anyone. Logan turned back. 6 months ago, I got an anonymous email. No return address sent through some kind of encryption service. Just 3 words, Bradley never left. What does that mean? I don't know. I tried tracing it, but whoever sent it knew how to cover their tracks. I assumed it was a crank, someone messing with me because they knew I'd written about Bradley. But now you're not sure. Now I think someone was trying to tell me where to look. She met his eyes. I think someone wanted me to know that Bradley is still here. Not alive, but here. Logan's blood went cold. You think he's buried on the property? I think that's exactly where he is. And I think whoever killed him has been using that house as a command center ever since. Your 50-cent purchase just disrupted 7 years of careful operation. Jesus. Which is why they tried to kill you, and why they won't stop trying. Elise closed her notebook. We need to move fast, before they have time to destroy evidence or disappear. How fast? 24 hours, maybe less. Gage's ears suddenly pricked forward, the dog's gaze fixed on the diner entrance, a low growl building in his chest. Logan followed the dog's stare. A patrol car had pulled into the parking lot. County Sheriff's Department. Single officer taking his time getting out. You expecting company? Elise asked quietly. No. The officer walked toward the diner entrance. 30-something broad-shouldered with the kind of confidence that came from knowing everyone in town was scared of your badge. He pushed through the doorbell jingling, and his eyes went straight to Logan's booth. Logan Hart. Logan's hand dropped under the table resting on Gage's back. That's me. Deputy Warren. Got a call about a disturbance at the old Bradley place. You know anything about that? What kind of disturbance? Gunshots. Broken windows. Fresh tire tracks tearing up the driveway. Warren's hand rested on his belt close to his weapon. Someone said they saw a truck matching your description leaving the scene around midnight. Elise spoke before Logan could answer. Deputy, I'm Elise Monroe with the Kansas City Star. Mr. Hart contacted me earlier this evening regarding a story I'm working on. We've been here for the past 2 hours. The waitress can confirm. Warren's eyes shifted to her. Something changed in his expression. Recognition, maybe, or calculation. You're the reporter who wrote about Mayor Bradley. That's right. Thought you gave up on that story. I'm revisiting it. New evidence has come to light. Warren's jaw tightened. What kind of evidence? The kind I'll be happy to discuss with your sheriff, during business hours, with my attorney present. The deputy took a step closer. His hand was definitely on his weapon now. Mr. Hart, I'm going to need you to come down to the station. Answer some questions about what happened tonight. Am I under arrest? Not yet. Then I'm not going anywhere. Warren's face darkened. You're trespassing on private property. Destruction of said property. Possibly armed assault. I've got plenty of reasons to bring you in. Gage's growl turned into a snarl. The dog stood, hackles raised. Control your animal, Warren snapped. Logan kept his voice level. He's controlled, just doesn't like being threatened. I'm not threatening anyone. I'm doing my job. Elise leaned back in the booth. Deputy, are you aware that the property in question was legally purchased by Mr. Hart at a county auction 3 days ago, deed filed with the clerk's office, all taxes paid in full? That doesn't give him the right to. It gives him every right to be on his own property. And if someone fired shots at him while he was there, that's attempted murder. Which means you should be investigating the shooter, not harassing the victim. Warren's hand tightened on his belt. For a moment, Logan thought the deputy might actually draw his weapon. The diner had gone completely silent. The waitress had disappeared into the kitchen. The only other customer, an old man at the counter, was staring very hard at his pie. Then, Warren's radio crackled. A dispatcher's voice, scratchy and urgent. All units, we have a 1070 at the old quarry on Route 19. Fire department en route. Possible structure collapse. Warren grabbed his radio. Copy that. What's the situation? Unknown. Anonymous call reported an explosion. No injuries reported yet. The deputy looked back at Logan and Elise, suspicion hardening in his eyes. "Don't leave town," he said, then turned and walked out. They waited until the patrol car pulled away before speaking. "That was close," Elise said. "Too close." Logan's heart was still hammering. He knew something. The way he looked at us, he's involved. Maybe. Or maybe he's just following orders from someone who is. She pulled out her phone, started typing. "The quarry on Route 19, that's the one you found in Bradley's notes, isn't it?" Logan checked his photos. Site B, marked as a dumping ground. And now, there's a fire. Elise's fingers moved faster across her screen. That's not a coincidence. Someone's destroying evidence. Or sending a message. Both. She grabbed her jacket. "Come on." "Where are we going?" "To see what they're trying to hide." Logan stood Gage pressing against his leg. "That's insane. Every cop in the county will be there." "Exactly. Which means we'll blend right in. Concerned citizens checking out the commotion." She was already heading for the door. "Unless you'd rather sit here and wait for Deputy Warren to come back with a warrant." Logan dropped cash on the table and followed her out. The drive to the quarry took 15 minutes. They could see the smoke before they saw the fire-thick black columns rising against the night sky. By the time they arrived, 3 fire trucks were already on scene, along with half a dozen patrol cars, and what looked like the entire volunteer fire department. Elise parked on the access road far enough back to avoid attention. They got out and walked closer, joining the small crowd of onlookers who'd gathered to watch the show. The quarry was massive, a crater carved into bedrock decades ago, now filled with rusted equipment and abandoned structures. One of those structures was currently engulfed in flames. Some kind of office building or storage facility, its roof already collapsed walls buckling. "That's where the records were," Logan said quietly. "Has to be." Elise was filming on her phone. "Look at the firefighters. They're not trying very hard to save it." She was right. The crews had their hoses aimed at the blaze, but their water pressure was weak, almost token. Like they were following procedure without actually trying to stop the fire. "Someone gave them orders to let it burn," Logan said. "Which means someone very high up is orchestrating this." Elise lowered her phone. "We need to get closer. See if there's anything left to salvage." "You're joking." "Do I look like I'm joking?" She didn't. Logan studied the scene. Most of the attention was focused on the burning building. But around the perimeter of the quarry, the darkness was thick enough to hide movement. "Gage," he said. The dog looked up. "You up for this?" Gage's tail wagged once. They circled around the crowd, keeping to the shadows. The quarry's edge was lined with old chain-link fence, rusted and sagging in places. Logan found a gap and squeezed through Elise right behind him. The slope down into the quarry was steep, covered in loose gravel. Logan slipped twice before reaching the bottom. The air down here was thick with smoke, stinging his eyes and throat. The burning building was on the far side, maybe 200 yards away. Between them and it lay a maze of broken equipment, old conveyor belts, rusted dump trucks, piles of stone blocks. They moved quickly, using the equipment for cover. Gage ranged ahead, nose working, checking for threats. They were halfway across when the dog stopped. Logan froze. "What is it?" Gage was staring at something behind a pile of stone blocks. Ears flat, body tense. Logan approached slowly. Elise grabbed his arm. "Don't." But he'd already seen it. A body. Male. Face down in the gravel. Fresh blood pooling around the head. Logan knelt down, checked for a pulse. Nothing. The man had been dead less than an hour, body still warm. "We need to go," Elise whispered. "Now." Logan turned the body over. The man's face was familiar, the same build, the same age as the shooter from the mansion. But it wasn't the same person. This man was older, grayer, and he was wearing a county clerk's uniform. "Robert Chen," Elise said, reading the name tag. "Deputy clerk. I interviewed him 3 years ago for my Bradley story." He's one of the names in the ledger, Logan said. Bradley had him listed as an accomplice. Past tense. Elise was already backing away. They're cleaning house. Everyone who knew about the operation, everyone who could testify, they're eliminating them. Logan stood. His mind was racing. If they were killing their own people, that meant gunfire erupted from the darkness. Logan hit the ground, dragging Elise down with him. Bullets sparked off the stone blocks, ricocheting in all directions. Gage barked, positioning himself between Logan and the shooter. Move! Logan scrambled toward better cover. More shots. One grazed his shoulder, burning like a brand. They made it behind an old dump truck. Logan pressed his hand to his shoulder, felt blood seeping through his shirt. How bad? Elise asked. I'll live. More gunfire. This time from multiple directions. At least 3 shooters, all converging on their position. We're trapped, Elise said. Logan looked around desperately. The burning building was behind them, the quarry wall ahead, the shooters closing in from both sides. Gage barked 3 times, sharp and urgent, then bolted toward the quarry wall. He's found something, Logan said. Come on. They ran after the dog. Bullets chased them, chipping stone, punching through metal. Logan's shoulders screamed with every step. Gage disappeared into a gap in the quarry wall, some kind of drainage tunnel, half collapsed but still passable. Logan shoved Elise through first, then squeezed in after her. The tunnel was tight, barely 3 feet high. They crawled forward in complete darkness, the sounds of pursuit echoing behind them. The tunnel seemed to go on forever. Logan's shoulder was on fire. His hands and knees were bleeding from the rough stone. Behind them, flashlight beams swept through the entrance. They're coming, Elise gasped. Then Gage barked ahead of them, not behind. Light appeared, not artificial light. Moonlight. They burst out of the tunnel onto the far side of the quarry, away from the fire and the shooters. A service road ran along the ridge. Elise's car was half a mile away, but they could make it. They ran. Behind them, shouts. More gunfire. But the shooters were still in the quarry, still trying to navigate the tunnel. They reached Elise's car and threw themselves inside. She gunned the engine, and they tore down the access road, gravel spraying. It wasn't until they were 5 miles away that Logan finally let himself breathe. Robert Chen, he said. They killed him to keep him quiet. Which means they're willing to kill anyone who threatens them. Elise's hands were white-knuckled on the steering wheel. We can't trust anyone in that town. Not the sheriff, not the clerks, not anyone. So what do we do? Elise was quiet for a long moment. Then, we go over their heads. State police, FBI. Someone who doesn't have skin in this game. You think they'll listen? Not without ironclad proof. Which means we need more than photographs. She glanced at him. We need a witness. Someone who'll testify to what Bradley was doing, what this organization is still doing. Everyone who knew is either dead or trying to kill us. Not everyone. Elise pulled out her phone, scrolled through old contacts. 3 years ago, I interviewed a woman named Sarah Morrison. Her father was James Morrison, one of the names in Bradley's ledger. He died in 2008. She tried to get justice, but no one would listen. Eventually, she left town. But if anyone knows where bodies are buried, literally or figuratively, it's her. Where is she now? Last I heard, she was living in St. Louis, working as a paralegal. Elise found the number. I'm calling her. The phone rang 6 times before a groggy voice answered. Hello? Sarah Morrison. This is Elise Monroe. We spoke 3 years ago about your father. A pause. Then, I told you everything I know. I can't help you. Sarah, listen to me. I have evidence. Real evidence that proves your father was murdered. That proves Harold Bradley was running a criminal organization that's still operating today. I need you to know. The word was sharp, frightened. I'm done. I have a life now, a family. I can't go back to that. They're killing people, Sarah. They killed a county clerk tonight. They tried to kill me and the man I'm with. If we don't stop them, then someone else will die. Someone always does. But it won't be me. I'm sorry." The line went dead. Elise stared at her phone. Damn it! Logan's shoulder throbbed. Blood had soaked through his shirt, dripping onto the seat. "We need to get this looked at." "No hospitals. They'll report the gunshot wound." "Then what?" Elise made a decision. "I know someone. Former EMT, lives off the grid. Owes me a favor." She changed course, heading east. "We'll patch you up, regroup, and figure out our next move." What if there is no next move? What if everyone who could testify is dead or too scared to talk? Then we find another way. Elise's jaw set. "Your father didn't give up. Sarah Morrison's father didn't give up. And I sure as hell am not giving up. We're going to burn this thing down, Logan. One way or another." Gage whined from the back seat, resting his head on Logan's good shoulder. Logan closed his eyes. His father's letter flashed through his mind. Some truths are worth dying for. He finally understood what his father had meant. Not that truth was worth dying for, but that it was worth living for, worth fighting for. Even when every door slammed shut. Even when the people with power tried to bury you along with their secrets. His father had fought alone and lost. But Logan wasn't alone anymore. He had Elise. He had Gage. And he had evidence that 7 years of silence couldn't erase. The stone mansion had been waiting for someone to dig up its secrets. Now those secrets were out, and someone was going to pay for every lie, every death, every family destroyed. Logan opened his eyes. "Let's finish this." Elise's contact lived in a farmhouse 40 miles outside the city limits, the kind of place you only found if you already knew where to look. No mailbox, no address markers. Just a dirt road that ended at a house with every light off. She killed the engine, and they sat in darkness. "You sure about this?" Logan asked. "No, but we're out of options." They got out. Gage limped beside Logan, favoring his injured leg. The dog's bandage was soaked through, same as Logan's shoulder. They were both running on fumes and adrenaline. Elise knocked. 3 times, pause, twice more, some kind of signal. Footsteps inside. A voice through the door. "Who's bleeding?" "Both of them," Elise said. The door opened. A woman stood there, 50s maybe, with steel gray hair and the kind of hands that had seen every type of wound. She looked at Logan's shoulder, then at Gage. "Gunshots." "Yes, ma'am." "Don't call me ma'am. I'm Rachel." She stepped aside. "Get in here before someone sees you." They followed her to a kitchen that doubled as a makeshift clinic. Supplies stacked on counters. Suture kits in neat rows. The smell of antiseptic thick enough to taste. "Sit," Rachel said, pointing to a chair. "Dog first." Logan started to protest, but Rachel was already examining Gage's shoulder. Her touch was gentle, practiced. The dog whined, but didn't pull away. Through and through, clean. He's lucky. She pulled out supplies, started cleaning the wound. "You, on the other hand..." She glanced at Logan. "That shoulder's going to need stitches." "I've had worse." "I'm sure you have." Rachel worked in silence for several minutes, stitching Gage's wound with steady hands. The dog never made a sound. When she finished, she wrapped fresh bandages and scratched behind his ears. "Good boy. You'll be fine." Then she turned to Logan. "Shirt off." He complied. The bullet had carved a groove across his shoulder blade, deep enough to need attention, shallow enough that nothing vital was hit. Rachel cleaned it without comment, her movements efficient. "Elise," she said, not looking up. "You want to tell me what kind of trouble you've dragged to my door? The kind that's been buried for 7 years. The kind that's killing people to stay buried. Bradley. Bradley and everyone who helped him. Everyone who's still helping him." Rachel's hands paused for just a second, then resumed stitching. "I heard about the fire at the quarry. Heard they found a body. Robert Chen, Elise said. Deputy County Clerk. I know who he was. Knew him, actually. He used to bring his daughter to the clinic where I worked. Sweet kid. 8 years old. Rachel tied off the last stitch. He tell you anything before they killed him? We didn't get a chance to talk to him, Logan said. Found him already dead. But you've got evidence. Otherwise, they wouldn't be trying so hard to kill you. Logan met her eyes. My father was one of Bradley's victims. Miles Hart, surveyor, died in 2015. Something shifted in Rachel's expression. Recognition. I remember that accident. Everyone said it was tragic. Bad weather, slick roads. She finished bandaging Logan's shoulder. But I saw the body when they brought him to the morgue. I was working there then before I got tired of the politics and moved out here. Logan's pulse quickened. What did you see? Injuries that didn't match the story. Your father's car went off the road into a river right. Drowned. That's what they told me. Except he had blunt force trauma to the back of his skull, fresh bruising on his wrists, like he'd been restrained. And his lungs. Rachel's jaw tightened. His lungs showed signs of asphyxiation before the drowning. The room tilted. Logan gripped the edge of the chair. Someone beat him, tied him up, suffocated him, then staged the accident to make it look natural. That's what I thought. That's what I told the medical examiner. Rachel's voice went flat. He told me I was mistaken, that I'd misread the injuries. 3 days later I was fired. No explanation. No severance. Just gone. Elise had her phone out recording. Did you keep any records? Copies of the autopsy report. Photographs. Everything they tried to bury. Rachel pulled a file box from under the sink. I've been carrying this for 10 years waiting for someone to actually give a damn. She handed the box to Elise. Inside were dozens of documents, autopsy reports, injury photographs, toxicology results. Not just Miles Hart. Other names too. Other accidents that didn't add up. James Morrison, Logan read, died 2008. Listed cause heart attack. But the autopsy shows potassium chloride injection, Rachel said. Mimics a heart attack. Untraceable unless you're specifically looking for it. Which no one was. Kevin Chen, 2011, suicide by hanging. Except the ligature marks were wrong. Someone strangled him first, then strung him up to make it look self-inflicted. Logan kept reading. Name after name, death after death, all ruled accidents or natural causes, all lies. How many? He asked. 17 that I documented personally, probably more I never saw. Rachel sat down heavily. I tried going to the state police. They told me I was a disgruntled employee making false accusations. I tried the FBI. They said they'd look into it. That was 9 years ago. Haven't heard a word since. Because someone's protecting them, Elise said. Someone with enough power to bury investigations, fire witnesses, make evidence disappear. Not just someone, Rachel said. Multiple someones. This isn't one corrupt mayor. This is a network. County officials, law enforcement, medical examiners, judges. They're all connected, all protecting each other. Logan's hands were shaking again. Not from fear, from rage. My father knew. He tried to stop them, and they murdered him for it. Yes. Rachel's voice was gentle. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Logan stood, ignoring the pain in his shoulder. Help me make them pay. Rachel looked at Elise. What's your plan? Go public. Every news outlet, every social media platform. Flood the zone with evidence before they can stop us. They'll kill you before you finish uploading. Maybe, but they can't kill the truth once it's out there. Rachel considered this. Then she nodded. I'll testify. To everything I saw. Everything they tried to hide. They'll come after you, Logan warned. Let them. I've been hiding long enough. She handed Elise the file box. Take it. Use it. And don't stop until every one of these bastards is behind bars. Elise took the box like it was made of gold. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. You still have to survive the night. Rachel pulled out her phone. "I've got a friend in Jefferson City, state investigator. Good man, can't be bought. I'll call him, get him up to speed." "How do we know he's not compromised?" Logan asked. "Because he's my brother, and I trust him with my life." She started dialing. "His name is Marcus Webb. Tell him everything. He'll know what to do." The call connected. Rachel spoke in low tones, explaining the situation. Logan couldn't hear the other side of the conversation, but he could see Rachel's expression shift, relief, determination. Something like hope. She hung up. "He's driving down now. Should be here in 3 hours. He wants to meet somewhere public. Somewhere they can't stage an accident." "Where?" Elise asked. "The state capitol building, tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., press conference. He'll have state police protection and media present. You give him the evidence, he'll take it straight to the Attorney General." Logan's chest loosened for the first time in hours. This could actually work. "It has to work," Rachel said. "Because if it doesn't, you're all dead." They stayed at Rachel's house for 2 hours, going through every document, making digital copies, preparing their case. Gage slept under the table, exhausted. Logan drank coffee that tasted like battery acid and tried not to think about the 17 names in Rachel's files. 17 people who'd died fighting the same fight his father had died fighting. He wouldn't let their deaths be for nothing. At 4:30 a.m., Elise's phone buzzed. She checked it, and her face went pale. "What?" Logan asked. She turned the screen toward him. "A text from an unknown number. I know where you are. I know what you have. Give it back, or everyone you love dies." "How did they—" Logan started. A second text arrived. This one was a photograph. Rachel's farmhouse, taken from outside, from the tree line. They were being watched. "We need to leave," Logan said. "Now." Rachel was already moving, grabbing a shotgun from a cabinet. "Back door. My truck's in the barn. Take it." "What about you?" Elise asked. "I'll be fine. I've dealt with worse." She chambered around. "Go. Get that evidence to Marcus. Don't stop for anything." They grabbed the files and ran. Out the back door, across the yard, into the barn. Rachel's truck was old but reliable. Keys in the ignition. Logan climbed into the driver's seat. Gage jumped into the back with Elise. The engine turned over on the second try. Behind them, they heard shouting. Then a gunshot. Rachel's shotgun, the boom unmistakable. "Drive!" Elise yelled. Logan floored it. The truck burst out of the barn tires, spinning in gravel. Headlights appeared in the rear-view mirror. 2 vehicles, maybe 3, all accelerating. "They're coming," Logan said. More gunshots. The back window exploded. Gage yelped and ducked down. Elise grabbed Logan's pistol from the glove box. He'd bought it 2 years ago, never thought he'd actually need it, and returned fire through the shattered window. "I can't hit anything at this speed. Just keep them back." They hit the main road doing 70. The pursuing vehicles stayed close. Professional drivers coordinated movements. These weren't small-town thugs. These were people who knew how to hunt. Logan's mind raced. 3 hours until they met Marcus Webb. 3 hours to stay alive. His phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him hit speaker. Logan Hart. The voice was familiar, calm, the same voice from the mansion. "Who is this?" "Someone who's giving you one last chance. Pull over, hand over the files, walk away." "Not happening." "Then everyone you care about dies, starting with Rachel." Logan's blood ran cold. "You touch her. Already done. She fought hard, I'll give her that, but a shotgun's no match for 3 trained operators." Elise made a sound like she'd been punched. "You're lying," Logan said. "Am I?" A pause. Then another voice came on the line. Rachel's voice, strained and weak. "Logan, don't give them anything." The connection cut off, replaced by Rachel's scream. Then silence. Logan's vision tunneled. His hands gripped the steering wheel hard enough to hurt. "She's alive," Elise said. "She has to be. They're just trying to scare us. But Logan knew better. He'd heard that kind of pain before. In Fallujah. In places where mercy was a luxury no one could afford. Rachel was dying, or already dead, because of him. The voice came back on the line. That's 2 people dead because of your stubbornness. How many more before you accept reality? You can't win this. You can't even survive it. Watch me. Logan ended the call. Elise was crying silently in the back seat. Gage pressed against her, whining. We keep going, Logan said. We get to Jefferson City. We hand everything over to Marcus Webb. And we make damn sure Rachel didn't die for nothing. They'll be waiting for us. I know. They'll have the route covered. State police on their payroll. Every exit blocked. I know. So how do we... Logan jerked the wheel hard right, taking an exit that wasn't on any map. A maintenance road barely paved cutting through farmland. The pursuing vehicles overshot the turn, had to brake and reverse. Where does this go? Elise asked. No idea, but it's not where they expect us to go. They drove in darkness, headlights off, navigating by moonlight. The road twisted through fields and forests, sometimes disappearing entirely. Behind them, the pursuit vehicles had regrouped, but they'd lost ground. Logan's phone buzzed again. This time, it was a number he recognized, the realtor who'd sold him the mansion. He answered. What? Mr. Hart, I need to inform you that the county is initiating eminent domain proceedings on the Bradley property. You're required to vacate within 48 hours. Eminent domain, on what grounds? Public safety concerns, structural instability. The building will be demolished. That's illegal. I have deed and title. Take it up with the county commissioner. The realtor's voice was tight, scared. I'm just doing my job. The line went dead. They're going to destroy the mansion, Logan said. Destroy whatever evidence is still inside. Doesn't matter, Elise said. We have everything we need. The photographs, the documents, Rachel's testimony. Rachel's dead. But her files aren't. And her brother knows the truth now. They can't stop all of us. Logan wanted to believe that. But every mile they drove, the weight on his chest grew heavier. His father, Rachel, Robert Chen, 17 names in a ledger. How many more before this ended? The maintenance road finally connected with Highway 63. They were 20 miles south of Jefferson City. 2.5 hours until the meeting. They stopped at a gas station, the kind with security cameras and too many witnesses for an ambush. Logan filled the tank while Elise used the bathroom. Gage stood guard, ears swiveling at every sound. Logan's phone buzzed. Another text. You think you're safe. You think Marcus Webb is going to save you. Check the news. Logan pulled up a news site. The headline made his stomach drop. State investigator Marcus Webb killed in highway collision officer's vehicle. Struck by semi-truck on I-70. No survivors. The article was time-stamped 45 minutes ago. Logan showed Elise when she came back. She read it twice, then sat down hard on the curb. He's dead. They killed him before he could help us. Rachel called him 3 hours ago. They were listening. They knew we were meeting him. Which means they know everything, every move we make. Elise looked up, eyes hollow. We're out of allies, out of options. They've won. No. Logan pulled her to her feet. They haven't won. Not yet. Logan, look around. Everyone who tries to help us dies. Everyone who gets close to this story gets murdered or threatened into silence. We're carrying evidence that could bring down a conspiracy spanning 30 years, and we have no one to give it to. No one we can trust. Then we don't give it to anyone. Logan opened the truck door. We release it ourselves. Every document, every photograph, every name. We put it all online. Send it to every news outlet in the country. Make it impossible to bury. They'll kill us before we finish uploading. Maybe. But maybe that's the point. Maybe the only way to win this is to go down swinging. Make so much noise that they can't silence us without proving everything we're saying is true. Elise was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. All right, but we need a place with good internet and enough public presence that they can't just walk in shooting. Logan thought. The library. Main branch in Jefferson City. Opens at 8 a.m. Public computers, security guards, dozens of witnesses. It's a plan. Elise checked her watch. We've got 90 minutes. Let's find somewhere to hide until then. They drove to a truck stop parked between two semis where the truck couldn't be seen from the road. Logan tried to rest, but every time he closed his eyes, he saw his father's face, heard Rachel scream, saw the names in that ledger, one after another, all the lives destroyed by men who thought they were above justice. Gage curled up against him, warm and solid. The dog's breathing was steady, trusting. Logan scratched behind his ears. We're going to finish this, boy. Whatever it takes. At 7:45, they drove to the library. The building was just opening, early morning patrons trickling in. Logan and Elise took seats at adjacent computers as far from the entrance as possible. Gage lay at Logan's feet on high alert. Elise opened her laptop. I'm creating a website, uploading everything, documents, photos, Rachel's files, all of it. How long? 20 minutes, maybe less if the upload speed is good. Logan kept watch. Every person who walked through the door made his pulse spike. Every car that pulled into the parking lot could be them. 10 minutes passed. Elise's progress bar crawled forward. 50%. 60. Logan's phone buzzed. Another unknown number. He answered without thinking. Final offer, the voice said. You have 10 minutes to delete everything and disappear. If you don't, I'll kill the girl. What girl? Sarah Morrison. Lives at 2847 Maple Street, St. Louis. Has a 7-year-old daughter named Emma. They're at the playground right now. Swings near the oak tree. Sarah's wearing a blue jacket. Logan's blood turned to ice. You touch them. Then stop what you're doing. Delete the files. Walk away. Elise looked up from her laptop. Who is it? Logan covered the phone. They have Sarah Morrison and her daughter. Elise's face went white. The woman I called last night. They were listening. They tracked her down. Logan's mind raced. How far is St. Louis from here? 2 hours, maybe more. We don't have 2 hours. Then what do we do? The voice on the phone. 9 minutes, Logan. Make your choice. Justice for your father or the life of an innocent child. Logan looked at the computer screen. 70% uploaded. Everything his father had died for. Everything Rachel had died for. All of it right there, almost finished. And on the other end of the line, a 7-year-old girl who had nothing to do with this. A child who would die because Logan refused to quit. His hand moved toward the keyboard. Don't, Elise whispered. Don't you dare. There's a kid. There are always kids, always innocent people caught in the crossfire. If we stop now, they win. And everyone who died your father, Rachel Marcus Webb, all 17 names in that ledger, they all died for nothing. But Emma? Emma lives in a world where people like Bradley can steal, kill, and destroy with impunity. The only way to save her is to finish this. To make sure this never happens again. Logan's finger hovered over the delete key. The voice on the phone, 8 minutes. Gage barked once. Sharp. Urgent. Logan looked down. The dog was staring at the entrance. 3 men had just walked in. They weren't dressed like security. Weren't moving like library patrons. They were scanning the room, methodical, professional. One of them locked eyes with Logan. They're here, Logan said. The 3 men moved through the library like wolves closing on wounded prey. Logan's mind calculated angles, exits time. 75% uploaded. Maybe 3 minutes left. Keep uploading, he told Elise. Don't stop no matter what happens. Logan. I mean it. He stood positioning himself between her and the approaching men. Gage rose beside him, hackles up. The lead man was 40, maybe 45, with the kind of build that came from years of tactical training. His jacket hung loose on one side, armed. The other two flanked him, spreading out to cut off escape routes. Logan's phone was still connected. The voice spoke, "Smart choice. Now walk toward my men. Slowly." "How do I know you won't kill Sarah Morrison anyway?" "You don't. But if you cooperate, she lives. If you don't, I'll have her daughter's throat cut while she watches." Logan's hands clenched. Every instinct screamed to fight, to charge forward, to make them pay. But that 7-year-old girl, Logan. Elise's voice was steady. 80%, 2 minutes. The lead man pulled his jacket back, not drawing his weapon, just showing it. A warning. Behind Logan, someone gasped. A librarian had noticed the gun. She reached for her phone. "Don't," the man said. Not loud. But every person in that section heard it. The librarian froze. "Everyone stay calm," the man continued. "We're federal agents conducting an investigation. No one needs to get hurt." Lies. But effective lies. People were already backing away, giving them space. Logan took a step forward, then another, drawing the men away from Elise, giving her time. The lead man smiled. "That's right. Nice and easy." Logan was 10 feet away now, close enough to see the man's eyes, cold, professional, empty of anything resembling mercy. "The phone," the man said. "End the call. Put it on the floor." Logan's thumb hovered over the screen. The voice was still there, listening, waiting. He ended the call, set the phone down. "Good. Now the files. Where are they?" "Uploading to a dozen different servers. Even if you stop us here, it's too late." "We'll see about that." The man gestured to one of his partners. "Get the laptop." The second man moved toward Elise. She didn't look up, fingers still flying across the keyboard. 85%. 90. Logan's body moved before his brain caught up. He lunged forward, grabbed the lead man's gun hand, twisted. The weapon clattered to the floor. Gage attacked. The dog hit the second man's center mass jaws, clamping onto his forearm. The man screamed. Chaos erupted. People ran. Someone pulled a fire alarm. The piercing wail drowned out everything else. Logan and the lead man grappled. The man was trained, experienced, but Logan had 8 years of Marine combat training and nothing left to lose. He drove his elbow into the man's ribs, heard something crack, followed with a knee to the groin. The man dropped. The third man drew his weapon. Logan dove behind a bookshelf as shots rang out. Books exploded, paper and binding flying. "Police are coming," someone shouted. That's when Logan understood. That's what they'd been counting on. Not killing him in the library, too many witnesses, too much risk. But creating enough chaos that local police would respond, would take Logan into custody, would hand him right over to the people who wanted him dead. "Elise," he shouted, "we need to go. 95%. More gunshots." The third man was advancing, using the bookshelves for cover. Logan grabbed a fallen computer monitor, hurled it. The man ducked, and Logan rushed him, closing the distance before he could aim again. They hit the ground together. Logan's injured shoulder screamed, but he ignored it. He couldn't let this man get back up. Couldn't let him reach Elise. His fist connected with the man's jaw once, twice, 3 times. The man went limp. Logan grabbed the gun and ran back to Elise. Gage was still holding the second man down, growling through clenched teeth. "Done." Elise slammed her laptop shut. "It's live. Everything. The website's active files are uploading to backup servers. I sent links to 50 different news outlets." "Then we move. Now." They ran for the emergency exit alarm, still screaming. Behind them, sirens approached. The lead man was getting to his feet, shouting into a radio. They burst outside into morning sunlight. The truck was parked 3 rows back. Logan fumbled for the keys. A squad car pulled into the parking lot, lights flashing. "Stop right there." The officer was out of the vehicle, weapon drawn. "On the ground. Now." Logan raised his hands. "Officer, those men inside, they're not federal agents. They're killers. They murdered a state investigator named Marcus Webb last night. I sat on the ground. 2 more squad cars arrived. 4 officers now, all with weapons drawn. No way out. No way forward." Logan looked at Elise. She met his eyes, understanding passing between them. They'd gotten the evidence out. Whatever happened now, the truth was spreading. Every second they delayed gave it more time to propagate, more time for people to download and share before anyone could stop it. "On the ground," Logan said quietly. "Do what they say." They knelt, hands behind their heads. Gage pressed against Logan's side, whining. The officers moved in. Handcuffs clicked shut. Logan's shoulder blazed with pain as they wrenched his arms back. "Logan Hart, you're under arrest for assault, illegal possession of a firearm, and destruction of property." "Call the FBI," Elise said. "Call the Attorney General. We have evidence of—" "Save it for booking." They were hauled to their feet. Logan watched as the 3 men from the library emerged, looking worse for wear, but very much in control. The lead man approached one of the officers, showed some kind of credentials. "These 2 are wanted in connection with a federal investigation. We'll take custody." "We need to process them first," the officer said. "Protocol." "This supersedes protocol." The man's voice hardened. "Federal jurisdiction. Release them to us now." The officer hesitated. Logan could see him calculating, trying to figure out who had more authority, more power. And in that moment of hesitation, Logan understood they were about to disappear, would be loaded into an unmarked vehicle, driven somewhere remote, executed, and buried in an unmarked grave like his father. "Officer," Logan said urgently, "check your phone, right now. Search Bradley corruption files. The evidence is public. Everything we're saying is real. These men are going to kill us if you hand us over." "Shut up," the lead man snapped. But the officer was already pulling out his phone. His partner did the same. Their expressions shifted as they read confusion, then shock, then something like horror. "Jesus Christ," one of them whispered. The lead man saw it happening and moved fast. He drew his weapon, aiming at the officer. "Step away, now!" But more vehicles were arriving. Not police this time. News vans. Reporters. Cameras already rolling. The story had broken. Live. In real time. And dozens of people were now watching 3 armed men threaten police officers in a library parking lot. The lead man's jaw tightened. He knew he'd lost. Slowly he lowered his weapon. "This isn't over," he said to Logan. Then he and his men retreated to their vehicle and drove away. The officers looked at each other, then at Logan and Elise. "You 2 aren't going anywhere until we sort this out," one said. "But you're not going with them either." They were taken to the county sheriff's office. Different county, different jurisdiction from the one where Bradley had operated. The sheriff was a woman in her late 50s named Catherine Mills, and she looked at Logan and Elise like they were bombs about to detonate. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" she asked. "Exposed a criminal conspiracy that's been operating for 30 years, Elise said. "Murdered at least 17 people. Stole hundreds of properties. Corrupted law enforcement, medical examiners, and county officials across 3 counties. Mills sat back in her chair. "I've been getting calls for the last 20 minutes. State police, FBI, Attorney General's office. Everyone wants to know if this is real." "It's real," Logan said. "Every document, every photograph, every name. All of it's real." "Then you just triggered the biggest corruption scandal in Missouri history." Mills pulled up something on her computer. "Your website's been accessed over 100,000 times in the last hour. The files are being downloaded, shared, analyzed. I've got reporters calling from New York, Los Angeles, Atlanta." "Good," Elise said. "That means they can't bury it anymore." "No, but it also means you're in more danger than ever." Mills leaned forward. "The people you've exposed, they're not going to accept this quietly. They're going to fight back with everything they have. Money, lawyers, political connections. And if that doesn't work, they'll try to kill us, Logan finished. I know, they already tried, multiple times. Then you understand why I can't just let you walk out of here. For your own protection, you need to stay in protective custody until— No. Logan stood. We're not hiding. We're not stopping. Not until every person involved in this conspiracy is arrested and charged. Mr. Hart. My father died fighting these people. So did Rachel Webb. So did Marcus Webb and Robert Chen and 17 other people whose names are in that ledger. I'm not dishonoring their deaths by hiding in a safe house while lawyers argue about jurisdiction. Mills studied him. Then she nodded slowly. All right, but you do this my way. I'm assigning protection detail. 2 deputies armed with you at all times. You go nowhere alone. You talk to no one without my approval. And the first sign of trouble, you do exactly what my people tell you. Understood. Understood. Good. Mills made a call. Within minutes, 2 deputies arrived, both young, both looking slightly overwhelmed by the situation. Take them to the conference room, Mills said. Get them food, water, medical attention if they need it, and someone see to that dog. Gage was limping again, fresh blood seeping through his bandages. One of the deputies, a woman with kind eyes named Torres, knelt down and examined him gently. I've got a first aid kit in my cruiser. I'll patch him up. Logan wanted to object, wanted to say he'd handle it himself, but exhaustion was crashing over him in waves. He'd been awake for 36 hours straight. His shoulder was on fire. His hands were shaking again. Thank you, he managed. Torres smiled. You did a good thing today. A hard thing. But good. They were led to a conference room with a table, chairs, and a coffee maker that looked older than Logan. He collapsed into a seat. Elise sat across from him, pulling her laptop out. I need to monitor the story, she said. Make sure it's spreading correctly. Make sure the right people are seeing it. Logan just nodded. Words felt too heavy right now. Torres returned with Gage. The dog's shoulder was freshly bandaged, and he seemed in better spirits. He curled up at Logan's feet, finally allowing himself to rest. There's a reporter outside, Torres said. National Network. Says she flew in from Chicago specifically to interview you. Already? Elise looked up. Your story's going viral. Twitter, Facebook, Reddit. Everyone's talking about it. Bradley Files is trending #1. Logan closed his eyes. It was working. The plan was actually working. The truth was out there, spreading faster than any conspiracy could contain it. His phone, returned to him by the deputies, started buzzing. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. Logan Hart. The voice was female, older, shaking. This is Sarah Morrison. Logan sat up straight. Are you okay? Is your daughter? We're fine. Police showed up at the playground 15 minutes ago. Said there'd been a credible threat. They've taken us to a safe location. She paused. I saw the website. I saw my father's name in the files. I'm sorry. I know you didn't want to be involved. I was wrong. Sarah's voice cracked. I thought running away would keep my daughter safe, but I was just letting them win. Just letting them keep doing what they did to my dad, to your dad, to everyone. It's over now. The evidence is public. They can't hide anymore. It's not over. Sarah took a breath. I have something. Something I didn't tell Elise 3 years ago. Something I've been too scared to use. Logan's pulse quickened. What? Recordings. My father wore a wire during his last meeting with Bradley. He knew something was wrong, knew they might try to kill him, so he recorded everything. Jesus Christ, where are the recordings? Safe deposit box, First National Bank, St. Louis, box 847. The keys hidden in my father's gravestone. There's a hollow section behind his nameplate. Sarah, this could be the final piece. Direct evidence linking Bradley to— There's more. Sarah's voice dropped to a whisper. The recordings don't just have Bradley. They have other voices. People giving orders. People higher up the chain. Names you wouldn't believe. Who? I don't know all of them, but I heard one clearly, repeated several times. Senator Richard Carver. The room tilted. Senator Richard Carver, currently serving his 4th term, chair of the Judiciary Committee, one of the most powerful men in the state. Are you certain? My father said the name out loud, asked Bradley if Carver knew what they were planning to do to him. Bradley said yes, said Carver had approved it personally. Logan looked at Elise. She'd heard everything, her face pale. We need those recordings, she said. I'll get them, Sarah said. But not alone. I need protection, real protection. Federal marshals, not local cops. I'll make it happen, Logan promised. Sheriff Mills has connections. She'll arrange it. Okay. Sarah sounded steadier now, determined. My father spent his last days terrified, knowing they were coming for him, knowing he couldn't stop them. But he left me a way to finish what he started. I'm not wasting it. She hung up. Logan immediately went to find Sheriff Mills. Told her everything. Mills listened, her expression growing grimmer with each word. Senator Carver, she said finally, you understand what this means. If you're wrong, if those recordings don't exist, or don't say what Sarah Morrison thinks they say, you'll be destroyed. Sued into oblivion. Possibly charged with defamation. And if we're right, then we just climbed several levels above county corruption. This becomes a federal case. FBI, maybe even Justice Department. Mills picked up her phone. I'll call the U.S. Marshals, but understand something, Mr. Hart. Once we make this call, there's no taking it back. You're declaring war on some of the most powerful people in this state. They declared war on us 30 years ago, Logan said. We're just finally fighting back. Mills made the call. Within 2 hours, federal marshals had Sarah Morrison and her daughter in protective custody. Within 4 hours, they'd retrieved the recordings from the safe deposit box and confirmed their authenticity. And by nightfall, Senator Richard Carver's name was trending worldwide. The recordings were damning. Bradley's voice clear as day, discussing the murder of James Morrison. Carver's voice, responding, approving, offering resources. Other voices chiming in: county commissioners, judges, a state representative. A conspiracy that reached from county clerks' offices all the way to the state capitol. By midnight, the FBI had arrested 12 people. By morning, that number had grown to 37. Logan watched it unfold on the conference room television, too exhausted to feel triumph. Just relief. And grief for everyone who'd died before justice finally arrived. Your father would be proud, Elise said quietly. Logan thought about that. His father who'd died alone on a river road, believing he'd failed. Believing the truth would stay buried forever. He shouldn't have had to die for this, Logan said. None of them should have. No. But they didn't die for nothing. Because of them, because of what they tried to do, we knew where to look. We knew what to find. Torres appeared in the doorway. Mr. Hart, there's someone here to see you. Logan stood wary. Who? Says his name is David Chen. His father was Kevin Chen, one of the names in the ledger. A man entered, mid-30s, wearing a suit, carrying a briefcase. His eyes were red like he'd been crying. I saw the story, David Chen said. Saw my father's name, the autopsy report showing he was murdered. His voice broke. We thought he killed himself. We blamed ourselves. Thought we should have seen the signs, should have helped him. For 12 years we carried that guilt. I'm sorry, Logan said. Don't be. You gave us the truth. You gave us proof that it wasn't our fault. That he was murdered by people he trusted. David set his briefcase on the table. I'm an attorney. Civil rights law. I want to represent the families. All of them. Every person who lost someone to this conspiracy. We're going to sue everyone involved. County, state, every official who participated or looked the other way. We're going to make them pay. It won't bring anyone back, Logan said. No, but it'll make sure this never happens again, that no other families have to go through what ours did. David extended his hand. Thank you for refusing to let them bury the truth. Logan shook his hand. More people arrived over the next hours. Family members of victims, reporters, federal investigators. The conference room became a command center, everyone working together to untangle 30 years of corruption. And through it all, Gage slept at Logan's feet. The dog who'd refused to enter a haunted house, who'd sensed the evil buried in those walls, who'd led Logan to the hidden basement, the secret files, the truth that men had killed to protect. Good boy, Logan whispered, scratching behind the dog's ears. We did it. But even as he said it, his phone buzzed. One final text from an unknown number. You won the battle. But the war isn't over. We're still here. Still watching. And someday, when you're not expecting it, we'll finish what we started. Logan deleted the text. Let them threaten. Let them hide in shadows and plot revenge. Because the truth was out now. The light was shining into every dark corner, and darkness couldn't survive that. Not forever. Sheriff Mills appeared in the doorway holding a document. The Attorney General just issued a statement. Full investigation into every case connected to Bradley. Every property seized, every deed forged, every family displaced. They're reviewing all of it. Victims will receive restitution. The county's setting up a fund. How much? Elise asked. $50 million to start. More if needed. Mills looked at Logan. They want to talk to you. Official testimony. You'll need to walk them through everything you found. I'll do it. Whatever it takes. Good. Because this is going to take years to fully unravel. Years of trials, testimonies, investigations. Are you prepared for that? Logan thought about his father. About Rachel. About 17 names in a ledger and a 7-year-old girl who'd almost died because men in power couldn't accept accountability. I'm prepared, he said. And for the first time since buying that mansion for 50 cents, Logan Hart felt something other than rage or grief or exhaustion. He felt hope. The hope lasted exactly 3 days. On the 4th day, Logan received a call from Sheriff Mills at 6 in the morning. Her voice was tight, controlled, the kind of calm that came before a storm. We have a problem. Logan sat up in the hotel bed the department had arranged for him. Gage lifted his head, alert. What kind of problem? Senator Carver's attorney filed a motion to suppress the recordings, claims they were obtained illegally, without proper chain of custody, that Sarah Morrison tampered with evidence. That's bullshit. Her father recorded those conversations himself. Doesn't matter. Carver's got 3 former attorneys general backing his claim. They're arguing the recordings are inadmissible, and if they succeed, the whole case falls apart. Not the whole case. We still have the documents, the photographs, the autopsy reports. But without the recordings, we can't directly link Carver to the murders. He walks. Logan's hand tightened on the phone. When's the hearing? Tomorrow. Federal court. 9 a.m. I'll be there. Logan, you don't have to. Yes, I do. Because if Carver walks, everyone else walks with him. All the county commissioners, all the judges, everyone. They'll claim they were following orders from someone who was never proven guilty. The entire conspiracy unravels. Mills was quiet for a moment. There's something else. David Chen, the attorney representing the families, he received a letter this morning. Death threat. Very specific. Names his wife, his children, where they go to school. Jesus. He's not backing down. Says his father didn't run from these people, and neither will he. But Logan, this is what I was warning you about. These people, they're not going to surrender just because we expose them. They're going to fight, with everything they have. Let them fight. We've already won the public. Every major news outlet is covering this story. Every family that was displaced is coming forward. They can threaten all they want, but the truth is already out there. Truth doesn't always win in court. You know that. Logan did know that. Had seen it in Iraq, seen it stateside. Guilty men walking free because of technicalities. Innocent people punished because they couldn't afford the right lawyers. Then we make sure the truth is impossible to ignore, he said. The hearing the next morning was packed. News cameras lined the hallway outside the courtroom. Protesters held signs demanding justice. Logan pushed through the crowd with Elise and Torres at his side, Gage walking close. Inside, Senator Carver sat at the defense table looking calm, composed, expensive suit, perfectly tailored. His legal team surrounded him 5 attorneys, all from prestigious firms, all probably billing $1,000 an hour. David Chen sat alone at the plaintiff's table, one legal pad and a worn briefcase. He looked small by comparison, outgunned. But when he met Logan's eyes, there was steel there, determination. The judge entered. Everyone stood. The Honorable Patricia Washington Federal District Court, with a reputation for being fair but ruthless. No nonsense, no games. "Be seated," she said. "I've reviewed the motion to suppress. Mr. Chen, you have evidence that James Morrison recorded these conversations legally." David stood. "Yes, Your Honor. Missouri is a one-party consent state. Mr. Morrison was a participant in these conversations. He had every legal right to record them." But the recordings were not turned over to proper authorities at the time, Carver's lead attorney said. They were hidden for 12 years. Stored in a safe deposit box with no documentation, no witnesses to their authenticity. For all we know, they were fabricated. "That's absurd," David said. "We have voice analysis confirming. Voice analysis that could have been manipulated. Deep fake technology exists, Your Honor. This so-called evidence could have been manufactured by anyone with an agenda." Judge Washington held up her hand. "Where is Sarah Morrison? I want to hear from her directly." "She's in protective custody, Your Honor. U.S. Marshals, due to credible death threats." "Then bring her here, under guard if necessary. I want her testimony on the record." An hour later, Sarah Morrison entered the courtroom flanked by 2 federal marshals. She looked terrified but resolute. David Chen walked her through her testimony, how her father had given her the key, told her where the recordings were hidden, made her promise to use them only if something happened to him. "And you never listened to these recordings?" Judge Washington asked. "Not until 2 weeks ago. I couldn't. I didn't want to hear my father's last words. Didn't want to face what they'd done to him." Sarah's voice cracked. "But when Logan Hart exposed the conspiracy, when I saw all those names, all those families destroyed, I knew I had to listen. Had to finish what my father started." "Your Honor," Carver's attorney interjected. "This is emotional manipulation. The witness admits she didn't listen to the recordings for 12 years. She has no way of verifying they weren't tampered with during that time." "The safe deposit box was never opened," Sarah said. "Bank records confirm that. The key was in my possession the entire time. No one else had access." "You say that, but can you prove it?" David stood. "We can, Your Honor. We had the recordings analyzed by 3 independent audio forensics labs. All 3 confirm the recordings are authentic. No signs of editing, no digital manipulation, no deepfake technology. These are genuine conversations recorded on analog tape in 2008. He submitted the forensic reports. Judge Washington reviewed them in silence. Carver's attorney tried again. "Even if the recordings are authentic, they're still illegally obtained. Mr. Morrison may have had the right to record, but he died before turning them over to authorities. His daughter had no legal standing to possess this evidence." "She had every legal standing," David said. "She's his heir. His property became her property, including these recordings. Property that could be evidence in a criminal case. Was evidence. Evidence that was buried by the very people we're prosecuting. James Morrison tried to go to the authorities. He tried to expose this conspiracy, and he was murdered before he could do so. Are we really going to reward his killers by suppressing the evidence he died to preserve?" The courtroom erupted. Judge Washington's gavel came down hard. "Order, I'll have order." The room quieted. "I'm going to take a 30-minute recess," Washington said. "And when I return, I'll have my ruling." Those 30 minutes felt like 30 hours. Logan paced the hallway. Elise fielded calls from reporters. Sarah Morrison sat on a bench, hands clasped, lips moving in what might have been prayer. David Chen stood apart, staring out a window. Logan approached him. "Whatever happens, you did everything you could. It's not enough if we lose." "We won't lose." "How can you be sure?" "Because I've seen Judge Washington's face. She knows what's at stake. She knows what these recordings represent. And she's not going to let guilty men walk on a technicality." David wanted to believe that. Logan could see it. But belief was a fragile thing, easily shattered by reality. The bailiff called them back. Everyone filed in. Judge Washington took her seat, and the room held its collective breath. "I've reviewed all the evidence," she said. "I've considered the arguments from both sides. And I've reviewed Missouri law, federal law, and relevant case precedents." Carver's attorney leaned forward confident. "The motion to suppress is denied." The courtroom exploded. Reporters ran for the exits. Protesters cheered. Carver's attorney shot to his feet objecting, but Washington's gavel came down again. "The recordings are authentic. They were legally obtained, and they are absolutely relevant to this case. They will be admitted as evidence." She looked directly at Senator Carver. "Sir, you're going to trial. And may God have mercy on your soul, because this court will not." Carver's face went white. His attorneys huddled around him, whispering urgently. But Logan saw something else in the senator's eyes. Not fear. Rage. This wasn't over. The trial began 6 weeks later. It lasted 43 days. Logan testified for 8 hours, walking the jury through everything he'd found in the Stone Mansion. Elise testified about her investigation, about being run off the road, about the pattern of intimidation and violence. Sarah Morrison played the recordings in open court, her father's voice filling the room calm and steady as he documented his own death sentence. And one by one, the conspiracy members turned on each other. The county commissioners blamed the judges. The judges blamed the sheriff's deputies. The deputies blamed the clerks. Everyone pointing fingers, everyone trying to save themselves. But the recordings didn't lie. Bradley's voice. Carver's voice. 17 murders discussed like business transactions. Properties stolen. Families destroyed. All of it documented in excruciating detail. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty on all counts. Senator Richard Carver was sentenced to life in prison without parole. 12 other defendants received sentences ranging from 20 years to life. Another 16 defendants took plea deals, agreeing to testify against their co-conspirators in exchange for reduced sentences. The day the verdict was read, Logan stood outside the courthouse with Gage at his side. Reporters surrounded him, microphones thrust forward, cameras rolling. "Mr. Hart, how do you feel about the verdict?" "Relieved, but not vindicated. Because my father is still dead. Rachel Webb is still dead. 17 families still lost loved ones. No verdict can bring them back. What will you do now?" Logan looked down at Gage. The dog's muzzle was grayer than it had been 6 months ago. The injuries from their fight had healed, but age was catching up. They both carried scars that would never fully fade. "I'm going back to the mansion," Logan said. "The county offered to buy it back. Wanted to demolish it, erase the evidence. I refused." "What are you going to do with it?" "Turn it into a truth center. A place where families can access records, find answers about what happened to their loved ones. A place where the next generation can learn what happens when good people stay silent." He paused. "My father used to say, some truths are worth dying for. I think he was wrong. Truth isn't worth dying for. It's worth living for, fighting for, every single day." The questions continued, but Logan was done answering. He walked away from the cameras, from the courthouse, from the machinery of justice that ground so slowly It often arrived too late. Elise fell into step beside him. The Kansas City Star offered me a position, investigative editor, full team, unlimited resources to chase stories like this. You taking it? I don't know. Part of me wants to, but another part. She looked at him. There are more Bradleys out there, more conspiracies, more families being destroyed while everyone looks the other way. I can't stop now. Then don't. What about you? You could sell your story. Book deal, movie rights, network interview shows. You'd never have to work again. Logan thought about that. The money would be nice. Security, comfort, everything his father never had. But his father hadn't fought for money. He'd fought because it was right, because silence was a form of surrender. I'm going to finish rebuilding the mansion, Logan said. Open the Truth Center. Help David Chen with the civil suits. Make sure every family gets restitution, gets answers, gets justice. That could take years. I've got years. They walked in silence for a while. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the courthouse steps. Gage limped beside Logan, tired but content. Your father would be proud, Elise said finally. Logan didn't respond. Couldn't respond. Because pride wasn't what he felt when he thought about his father. He felt grief, anger, sorrow for all the years they'd lost, all the conversations they'd never have. But underneath that, maybe there was something else. Understanding. His father had died fighting, but Logan had survived. Had finished the fight. Had made sure the truth didn't stay buried. That had to mean something. 6 months later, the Truth Center opened. Logan had spent every day working on the mansion, restoring what could be restored, preserving what needed to be preserved. The hidden basement was now a museum. The secret room where Bradley had kept his files was now an archive. Families came from across the state. Some found records of stolen properties. Others found evidence that their loved ones' deaths weren't accidents. All of them found answers. David Chen's lawsuits succeeded. The county paid out over $200 million in restitution. Properties were returned. Names were cleared. Graves were marked with the truth instead of lies. And slowly, painfully, the town began to heal. On the 1-year anniversary of buying the mansion, Logan stood on the porch with Gage. The dog was slower now, sleeping more. His steps careful and measured, but his eyes were still sharp, still watching. A car pulled up. Sarah Morrison got out with her daughter Emma. The girl was 8 now, bright-eyed and curious. Thank you for inviting us, Sarah said. Thank you for coming. They walked through the mansion together. Logan showed Emma the archive, explained what her grandfather had done, how his courage had helped bring down a corrupt empire. Was he scared? Emma asked. Probably, but he did it anyway. That's what courage is. Not the absence of fear, but doing what's right even when you're terrified. Emma thought about that. Then she knelt down beside Gage, scratching behind his ears. He's a good dog. The best. My mom says he saved your life. More than once. Then he's a hero, like my grandpa. Logan's throat tightened. Yeah, like your grandpa. More visitors arrived. Families who'd lost homes. Veterans who'd served with Logan overseas. Reporters who'd covered the story. By afternoon, the mansion was full of people, all of them connected by loss and survival, and the stubborn refusal to let injustice win. Elise found Logan on the porch as the sun set. You did it. Your father's dream, you made it real. We made it real, all of us. You think he knows wherever he is. Logan looked out at the property. Somewhere under this land, Bradley might be buried. Or maybe he'd fled, living under a false name, forever looking over his shoulder. It didn't matter. The truth had caught up either way. I think he knows, Logan said, and I think he's finally resting. That night, after everyone had left, Logan sat in the main room with Gage curled at his feet. The house was quiet, no longer haunted by secrets, no longer heavy with guilt. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He almost ignored it, but something made him answer. Logan Hart. The voice was elderly, shaking. My name is Eleanor Bradley, Harold Bradley's mother. Logan's blood went cold. What do you want? To tell you the truth, the whole truth, about my son, about what he did, about who he worked for. She took a breath. I've been silent for 7 years, too scared to speak, too ashamed to admit what my son became. But I watched your trial, saw what you accomplished, and I realized silence is how they win. Where are you? Nursing home, St. Louis. I don't have much time left. Cancer. But before I die, I need to tell someone what I know. Need to make sure the truth doesn't die with me. I'll be there tomorrow. Thank you. And Mr. Hart. Your father. Miles Hart, he came to see me. 2 weeks before he died. Told me what Harold was doing. Begged me to help him stop it. I refused. Said I didn't believe him. But I did believe him. I just didn't have the courage to act. Her voice broke. I'm so sorry. For your father. For all of them. I'm so sorry. Logan closed his eyes. Tomorrow. Tell me everything. Let's finish this. He hung up and looked down at Gage. The dog was watching him, patient and steady. One more fight, Logan said. You up for it? Gage's tail wagged once. Logan smiled. His father had died alone, believing he'd failed. But he hadn't failed. He'd lit a spark that refused to go out, a spark that grew into a fire burning away 30 years of lies. And that fire was still burning, still spreading, consuming every dark corner, every hidden conspiracy, every powerful man who thought he was above justice. Bradley's mother had more names, more evidence, more truth waiting to be exposed. The mansion had been waiting 7 years for someone to discover its secrets, but it wasn't done yet. Neither was Logan. He stood Gage rising with him. Tomorrow they'd drive to St. Louis. Tomorrow they'd hear what Eleanor Bradley had to say. Tomorrow the fight would continue. Because truth doesn't hide forever. It waits. Patient and persistent. Until someone brave enough or stubborn enough refuses to look away. His father had been that person. Rachel had been that person. Sarah Morrison and her father had been that people. Now Logan was that person. And he wasn't walking away. Not ever. Because Gage hadn't barked for fear. He'd barked for truth. And truth, once awakened, never sleeps again. The stone mansion stood silent behind him, its walls no longer hiding secrets, but preserving them. A monument to every person who'd fought and died for justice. A promise that their deaths meant something. Logan Hart had bought a mansion for 50 cents. But what he'd found inside it, the truth, the fight, the refusal to surrender, that was priceless. And it was worth every scar, every sleepless night, every moment of terror. Because in the end, his dog had been right all along. Something inside that house was still breathing. Not a ghost, not evil. Hope. Stubborn, relentless, impossible to kill. And as long as people like Logan kept fighting, that hope would never die.